I'm Hannah Basil. I'm from New Albany. I was born and raised in New Albany. I'm married to Tyler Basil. He works at B&A Bank. We have 3 children. Kinley is 7, Rob is 5, and Palmer is 1. My parents are Bobby and Frankie Roberts, and my mom grew up here in New Albany. My dad's from East Union, so they're local as well. And my grandparents lived here, and as long as I remember, they grew up here. So we are New Albany through and through. My sister is Emily Foreman. She owns Mata Designs. She's an interior designer here in New Albany as well. So we have a lot of connections here in New Albany. Okay, I grew up just here right in New Albany. I went to New Albany High School. My parents, my grandparents, my sister, we all live in the same neighborhood, and it is the same neighborhood that I grew up in, and I live there now. So I definitely kept it local, and I joke with Tyler. I always say, when we started dating in high school, he was in 9th grade and I was in 11th, which that's a whole nother story. We talked about getting married and living in that neighborhood in high school. So we like New Albany. We like it pretty well, yeah. We grew up here and we stayed put. And I hope my kids do the same thing. I would love for them to live in our same neighborhood. I asked my parents how they did that. So I went to high school here, and so I was big in art. That was kind of my thing in high school too, which leads to the creativity that I do now, I think. I was not good at any sports. My sister was a cheerleader, and I wanted to be a cheerleader so bad, and it just was not for me. I still try to get a dance every once in a while, and that is not my thing. So it is definitely true that some people, you have your thing, and some people are just creative people, and I will say that I think that is my strength. And my competitive nature comes out in that, which is kind of weird. Like, I think if I were athletic, I'd be trouble because I'm very competitive. Sometimes, like, Tyler's like, well, how'd you take that job, or why do you want to do that? I'm like, I don't know. I think it's just to prove that I can, to show that I can do it. I don't know. So, no, I am not athletic, but I am competitive in other ways, which is kind of weird. But growing up, my dad would kind of, like, be the one I would ask about an outfit or my hair. I say he's more creative than my mom. She is very, like, plain Jane, and she is not going to tell you her opinion, and my dad is, so that may be the difference. But my dad was always the one still. He will redo their bathroom or, redecorate something in their house. He likes to build, and he's in construction, and I think he's really creative. So I kind of think that's where Emily and I both got it, was from him. He's, his creativity. My aunt's creative. She does more like crafty stuff, and I remember when I was little, her doing that, and just like enjoying watching her do that and doing that with her. So I think that we probably got it from them. And then Emily started Mata after she worked for an interior designer in Tupelo, and starting out, she was an interior designer, but she started out kind of doing wedding florals to make ends meet. When you're starting a business up, you'll do anything to keep it going. So I was in college at the time. I would come home and help her, and at the time I hated it because my sister was telling me what to do. Working for your sister is not fun, and you usually get paid with maybe dinner if you're lucky. So anyway, I would do anything I could not to help with weddings at that time, but I did, of course, like the creative part of that with her. I liked watching her do a big flower arrangement, or giving her ideas, or like telling her how to tweak things. So I was in elementary education, and I started teaching at New Albany Elementary School. I started in kindergarten, and I loved it. I adored it. But then I went to get my administration degree, and I was like thinking I wanted to be a principal, and that was not for me. I was not able to do anything creative with that. And I was reminded that that is definitely my path, is in the creative, like hands-on, like in a desk is not for me. So thinking that I wanted to be a principal or an administrator, and then it not working out, I kind of like shifted gears completely. We heard that Bankhead was for sale, Tyler and I did, and he saw it as an investment, owning a business in town, and it is a good business. It's been here since 1942, so he knew it was established, it had a good name. He wanted it as an investment. And like I said, I was like, well, this path that I thought that I was going down is not working out for me. And so when he wanted to buy it, he wanted to find like a manager or somebody to run it. And I thought, well, what if I tried that for a few years? And I thought he would shoot me down because it just wasn't as reliable, or what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't as
steady.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't as steady as like a teacher job with, you know, the benefits and the insurance and all that. So I was like, he's going to shoot me down. And he was like, yeah, I think you should try that for a few years and just see if you like it. And I have loved it. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. So I did love teaching. I miss it. And when I see my old kids, I'm really sad every time. But I have really enjoyed the creativity that I get to have. And it's like there's nobody else telling me what to do or how to do it. And I've never experienced that either. You know, that's kind of rare to just, you know, work for yourself. So that's been really cool. So Bankhead started, Julius Cruz is the oldest back person that I've spoken with, which I think he's since passed, and his mom owned Bankhead. And like the first phone number I saw was like 98. You know, it's like 2 numbers. Rodney Shands owned it before Kevin Hinton. So he's the furthest back living owner that I know. So he had some paperwork that he gave me when we bought. We had some emails from Julius Cruz, who owned it. You know, his mom owned it, started it. And they didn't even know the exact year. They knew it was in the 40s. So we did some research like at the library, and we found some ads dating back to 1942. And I think that was the year that it opened. So that's what we go with. But she started it, and it was on Bankhead Street. Of course, that's why it was called Bankhead Flower Shop. And then...
Where was it on Bankhead Street?
I'm not sure where it was. It had to have been close to that one that people know on 15. Then it was moved there.
Okay.
And a lot of people know that one. And a lot of people say, I thought y'all closed after that. That is where Bankhead was when the Shands owned it. And it was connected with United Funeral Home because they own the funeral home too. And then they brought in Kevin Hinton, who is a trained floral designer. And he is amazing. And he owned it for I think about 10 years. And I don't know if that's public knowledge, but he had an accident out delivering. A car hit him, and so he was hurt pretty bad. And that's kind of when he decided he was going to get out for a little while. And I think he took a little break. He works in Memphis sometimes, like big weddings and elaborate things that he's done. The Rose Parade, he's set up for that before. Anyway, we bought from him, and he trained me. So I had worked with my sister a little bit, you know, just what I like and what I think's pretty. But then Kevin kind of showed me more technical stuff, and he still is teaching me stuff. And then for a while, he went and worked in Memphis with weddings. And then when I had my last baby, he came back, and he's helping me a lot more now. He was like, I just really feel like you need me. And I was like, I really do need you. So I've learned a lot from him, and he helps a lot. So when people are like, you see a big wedding or you see a really pretty install or something, and people are like, man, Hanna, you did so good. It's definitely not just me. We have a big team. Starting on Mondays, we've got, you know, the people processing the flowers, and then on Wednesdays we have people making personal flowers. I don't ever do much of that, like the boutonnieres, the corsages and all that. So I mean, we've got a really good team now, but Kevin he's got great ideas, and he's really creative. So that's really the history on Bankhead, back to 1942. There's a big gap that I don't know much about, you know, where it was until they moved it to Highway 15, and then Kevin bought it, and then we bought it from him. So,
well, that explains why it's called Bankhead.
Yes,
but it's not on Bankhead.
Exactly.
And hasn't been for a long time.
Because it was on Highway 15 for the longest. That's where most people probably now remember it being. But you know, if that's close, at least to Bankhead. And then we moved a little bit further. We're on J Street, across from the high school. But that would be a dream of mine to get it back to Bankhead. I don't really want to be downtown though, because I've talked to you about this. But the in and out, we go in and out 25 times a day making deliveries, and those alleys stress me out. But it would be so cool to be on Bankhead. That's a long-term goal. Yeah. I've got my eye on a bigger place.
Let's talk about weddings. Okay.
That's one thing that when Tyler and I bought, we had all these things laid out. We already had 2 kids, but I wanted more. I wanted 2 more. But I said, let's don't do a lot of weddings. Let's just focus on day to day, and, you know, keeping it in the 9 to 5 hours. And I have not done well with that at all, because, you know, with funeral work, it can be creative too, but it's just a totally different thing. It's more like the same thing. You know, we do a lot of sprays, casket pieces, plants, vase arrangements, and they're for the most part, they're pretty much the same. Sometimes people will say, he was a hunter, can you put in these deer antlers? Or he was a fisherman, can you do this fishing rod? And look, we're trying to figure out, how do we make this stand up? How do we get it to show? And, how can we do this where we've never done it? I've done a helmet, a biker's helmet before in a casket piece. So it is creative. But like a wedding, a bride just giving me colors and saying, what do you think? Go for it, is like the most fun thing. So the first bride that approached us was Morse Kelly Clayton Snyder now. And Tyler was like, well, I thought you said you weren't doing weddings. And I was like, yeah, but wouldn't hers be really fun? It's at her parents' house. And, she says I can do whatever for the altar piece. I was like, don't you think that would be fun? Like, I can just show people that we can do weddings. And he was like, okay, if you want to do one. Well, I've done a lot since then. So we've been at Bankhead for 4 years. And I would say we've done 75 weddings probably. And there's big ones, there's small ones, and every time I say, well, this is my favorite kind to do. I like a small one because it doesn't take a ton of time, just pop it up and it's pretty, it's sweet. And then you do a really big one, like this weekend we did Maggie Scott's Alfie now, and it was big, it was a lot of flowers. And I said, well, this was my favorite because there's flowers everywhere, it's so beautiful. And then people were like, that's how I want my wedding. So every weekend is my favorite wedding ever. And then you get the next email and you want to do another one. So yeah, I've got a problem with that for sure. It's committing a lot of time, but it's hard to balance your family life and your creative life. So Pinterest is a big thing. Brides are on Pinterest and sometimes they're showing you stuff and you're like AI now is a big thing. Like, I'm like, that's not even possible with fresh flowers, and then you want your wedding in July in Mississippi in the sun, and a lot of times Kevin would say this too. I would show him something and say, I want to do this, and he'd say, you can't, that is impossible. I'm like, yeah, but it's right here. I'm like, somebody did do it. Yeah, but not maybe just for a magazine, so these brides have like these pictures in their mind that they want, and sometimes it's impossible. So trying to give them something like what they want at least, and that's a lot of my stress too, is like, you've never done something, that's the most exciting thing to do, but then all week my stomach is in knots, like, is it gonna work? Because if it doesn't, that's their wedding day. There's either not another chance at doing it, there's not a way to extend I need another hour to get this done, like, it's right then, so that's and you can't do it ahead of time because they're perishable. They can't be in that oasis very long. So Thursday and Friday, that's about as early as you can start wedding or big arrangements. So it's a time crunch and it can be stressful, but yeah, the creative side of it, seeing something that they like or seeing something on Pinterest and then saying, but could we do something like a little bit different, or how would this look at their at their spot, at their venue. That's the fun part. I had one bride that was at the Powerhouse in Oxford, and she just said, you don't get this a whole lot, but they're like, I want a focal point around my cake and this is how much I can spend on it. But she didn't have a picture of an inspiration picture, which can be kind of scary because you're like, I hope what I'm visualizing is pretty to them. But it's, to me, the most exciting when they come in and they're like, oh, I didn't even think about doing that. And we just did like flowers on both sides of her cake, like one was tall and one was a little bit shorter, so it was asymmetrical. And then she wanted disco balls kind of incorporated, so we had those kind of mixed throughout. And it just, I remember the light hitting it, right at the reception time, because I went in to light candles, and it was like the prettiest thing, the coolest thing I remember doing to that date. So that's just exciting when you can just make something, when they just give you free reign, which is kind of rare because people do, especially with weddings, they need control. They want to do what they've been picturing since they were little. So when you do get one that's like, do whatever you want, it's like, yes, it's awesome. So, and I did have one last summer, Berry Day, and she was very laid back. And there's nothing wrong with the type A bride, that I get it, but she was very type B, like, do what you want, I trust you, be creative. And it was one that I was really, really excited about. I had a lot of good ideas that were all just right here, they weren't really anywhere else. And I went into preterm labor at 23 weeks, and I was laying in a hospital bed for her wedding. So that was a real test of my like, you gotta let it go. I was on the phone, I was FaceTime, and I was like, that is not where I wanted that, you know, or can you move it? Just, they were like, Hannah, like just 2 inches, and please put just 2 more of these or that, you know, because it was all, I could see it, but I couldn't do it. And it ended up being, of course, stunning and unbelievable, but that was a disappointing time for sure. And I ended up having my baby the next day after her wedding, so it's crazy. But yeah, like I said, I thought, well, I'll be there, so I'll just have it all in my head what I want to do. I ended up having to make floor plans and draw everything out right there in the hospital bed. So it was crazy. It was crazy.
Because you had to take your ideas and put them on paper for other people to follow.
Yes, which is really hard. I mean, it's hard to do, but I do have, like I said, Kevin helped with that one, and then Karen Mills, and she's also local from New Albany. She is Jay Mills' wife that owns Big Sky Signs. She's worked at Bankhead for a long time. She worked there, I think, and possibly left for a little while, and now she was back before I bought it, but she is the most organized person. Like, she remembers everything I say. She can almost read my mind. So she took over. She came to the hospital and sat down, and I was telling her stuff, and she's like, we got this. I was like, I know you do. It's just hard to let go. But she's like my right hand. She works at the day school as well, and Tyler has tried many times to get her to quit the day school and come and work for us full time, because the day she's not there, I am lost. She's very organized, where I am just more creative. I just fly. They're always like, did you measure this wall that you're talking about covered in flowers? I'm like, mm-mm. Or do you think this is gonna flip over with the weight? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna make it and see. That's just how I roll. So yeah, laying in the hospital bed and them expecting to do it, they were not thrilled, but everything worked out. This weekend there was a moment. Oh, the wall at the. Did you see the cross? Okay, the cross in the baptismal at First Baptist, we covered in flowers for Maggie Scott's wedding. And it is a really heavy cross, and I would say it's probably 5 feet tall, at least 5 feet tall. Anyway, we took it off the wall and we covered it in flowers, and it was very heavy. And that wall that's in the baptismal is covering up where you do where you baptize. So it's like a faux wall. It's not a load-bearing wall for sure. It's just maybe like a piece of plywood or something. And so everybody's looking at me like, do you think that wall can support that cross? I said, well, I don't know. I don't think anybody's ever completely covered the cross in flowers, but we're about to find out. And we put it up there, and it held up. But you know, that's always the fear in the middle of the ceremony, the whole wall falling down with the cross covered in flowers. But if you want to do something different, then somebody's got to try it. Because now it'll be, well, we did cover it in flowers before. Or we saw it at Maggie's, so it can be done, you know. Yeah. Everything has to be done for the first time, sometime. The mechanics, I just pray that they work. But like for this wedding, we did like a hanging chandelier is what I call it. They're not lights, but like a ring. The company put up the tent, and it looked really sturdy. And then the rental company put up the chains and the ring, and then we covered in floral foam and flowers. So I guess everybody, if you have your good vendors and everybody does their job, I feel like they're pretty secure. But yeah, I've seen people rig stuff up too, like pool noodles and everything else, just hanging flowers from it. So anything for the look.
What do you do to get inspired?
I always feel the most inspired after a trip, and I've always loved going on trips, so I love that. But we went to Hawaii. We took my mom for her retirement. My sister and I did this year. And I remember feeling really burnt out right before that trip. Like, to me, the thing that burns you out the most is having all the meetings with each bride. When you have, like, I had 5 in May. So that's 5 different brides who it's their most important day of their life, and 5 moms, and 5, a lot of times, mother the groom, because we're doing the rehearsal dinner too, that you are, even if you only have 2 meetings with each of them, and a couple emails and texts with each of them, it's a lot of communication. And that burns me out, like making their plan. I type out a plan for each one of them, and I have to order their flowers, order their hard goods. That drains me. So around the time that I was wrapping all those up, I was feeling pretty burnt out, and we went on that trip to Hawaii. And I mean, the flowers were insane. Emily was like, I think you could expense a trip like this, because we learned a lot about flowers. I was like, that is true. But the flowers were beautiful, and like there were just, creative things everywhere, and just visually, I mean, just so inspiring. And when I came back, I was ready to do some weddings. I was like, just a few days off even will recharge me. A day off, I'm like kind of itching to do something creative. And I remember getting out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for around 20 days. And when I came back, I was like, if I cannot get my hands on a flower arrangement right now, like, I had just had a baby and I was ready to go up there and make a flower arrangement because I hadn't done it, in so long. So just some time off kind of recharges my battery. When I'm drained creatively, I have trouble like talking to people. Like they'll come in the flower shop and I'm like, I just don't even feel like I can talk right now. It almost just drains you completely, like physically and creatively. And like I'm a talker and I like to be with people, but sometimes I don't even want to do that when I'm so drained creatively. So, but it is you can't do it when you have a business either. It's like you got to go out there and be with your people. So
yeah.
It's hard. It's kind of hard. And then kids too. It's like you leave work and you go fix chocolate milk. It's just constant. So a few days off will bring me back to life for sure.
Do you do anything else creatively besides flowers at this time in your life?
Birthday parties. That's for my kids. I think about it I know this is odd and some moms will get it, but I can be in the hospital with my 3 kids the night they're born, and I'm thinking about their first birthday party. I'm like, what's their first birthday party theme gonna be? I love making the little stuff for it. Like my son just turned 1 and we did Party P, that's his nickname, Pickwick Pizza Party. So it was at the lake and we had pizza, and we've been making paper chains, my kids and I, and like streamers and the signs with his picture on it. I just loved it. And scrapbooks for him for the year. I love to do. I've been making scrapbooks since I was like 4 years old. I'm not kidding. I should have known right then to give up the cheerleading dreams. And I ended up being the yearbook editor because I love a scrapbook. And to me that was like, well, I'm not good at sports. It's kind of like a sad thing. But now when I look back and like when I think about my daughter, I'm like, there is nothing wrong with just being creative. It's not just, people now, they'll tell me, they're like, oh, I wish I was creative. I wish I could do a scrapbook. I wish I could make bows or make a flower arrangement. And I thought that was just like a consolation prize. Well, I'm not creative, but I can make a bow and I can make a scrapbook. And now it's like, that I can use that more than you can use. You don't go play basketball every weekend,
You don't earn your living from playing basketball.
That's right. So now I'm like,
that's your profession.
That's right. It's my profession, and it's useful as a mom or as a friend. I can throw you together. I always give everybody a flower arrangement. Somebody passes away or somebody's sick, and go take them a flower arrangement. So it is useful. And if my daughter is creative and doesn't like sports, I'm like, that's fine. I always looked at it as like a sad, a disappointment.
You thought you were missing something.
Yeah. And now I see it as something cool about me. So, like I said, I always wanted to be my granddad was a basketball coach, so he wanted me to play basketball. That's probably why I think it's disappointing that I didn't. Anyway, I wanted to be a cheerleader, whatever. Well, I didn't. I ended up having a scrapbook that I would plan out at the beginning of the football season. Like, okay, we're playing Ripley the first game. We're gonna do tombstones on our shirts that say R.I.P. like rest in peace, L.E.Y. small, and we're gonna do like a Halloween theme or whatever, dead, kill the whatever they are. And then the next game we're playing so and so. We're gonna do Indian theme. Everybody's gonna wear Indian headbands, and we're gonna shred the shirts up and put beads on them. The next game we're gonna spell out on your shirts and your chest, we're gonna spell this out. I had them all planned out because that's what I like to do, And I ended up getting the Spirit of the School award or something on awards night senior year, and I was like, yes, I finally made it. I got, I've earned an award of some kind. So anyway, that was kind of funny. But
you even had a binder.
I had it all in the binder. Yep. And everybody followed my plan. I don't know why they listened to me, but they made the shirts. They all came to my garage, my mom's house. And we would make the shirts every week, and it was always fun. So, those are good memories for sure. And then put it in the yearbook after that. Make the shirts, take the pictures, and put them in the yearbook. So that was my job. Take the pictures at the games. So,
do you still keep binders for your weddings and
yes,
stuff?
I have a paper binder, which gets on my husband's nerves. He's like, why do you have to print all this out? It's all on your phone, so it can all be digital. I'm like, I need a binder. I need paper. But yeah, I have a binder with every bride and what when they send me something, I'm like, okay, I'll add that to the binder. It goes behind their tab. And it has an air tag in the binder because I'm forgetful as well. So that's how I keep up with it. Air tag in the binder, air tag on my paper planner.
Do you have all of those weddings in one binder right now?
And I don't usually print their stuff out. I keep it on a dock until it's a little bit closer because we change stuff so much. But about a month out, all their stuff gets printed out and put in the binder. It helps everybody at the shop too. They can flip through and look, you know, and that's how
I'm
we
sure
go.
your binder came in handy when you were in the hospital.
It did. It came in very handy. It had to come to me at the hospital and then go back to the shop a couple times, so people would drop it off. So yeah, I put their order behind their stuff. That's right. And we make recipes, so that's all in there. Like you can. And I've gotten worse about that. I was really good at first, but now I kind of eyeball stuff and just hope for the best since I've done so many. But at first, when I was doing weddings, you would say, like, the bride's bouquet is going to have 4 hydrangeas, 6 roses, 6 ranunculus, 6 pieces of Italian ruscus, and then I had to go through and add every bit of that up, and then that's how I'd order. Then when you're making it, you would know exactly what to put, but now I just kind of eyeball it. And it drives everybody crazy. They don't know what, they're like, what do we put in it? Like, whatever you think's pretty.
Just go grab something.
Just go grab something and make the best of it.
Do you have a dream wedding? Like
I don't know. One thing that people do send me all the time that I would like to do at one point. We do Christmas decorating. Like November and December. I have a few houses that I do. I'm not really taking anymore because it is a complete job. To do 2 houses in a day, I'm exhausted. I mean, just imagine doing all your Christmas decorating over and over every day. We don't put Christmas trees up unless the person really needs help with their Christmas tree. Like, they physically can't. I'll do it for them. But everybody every year sends me the governor's mansion. They take, like, applications for decorating. So I think, like, somebody in Mississippi can decorate it every year. I would like to do that one year. I think that would be cool to decorate the governor's mansion. And I would, for Christmas. And I would like to go to the Rose Parade. I talk about that all the time too. Kevin said that is a big time commitment because you have to go, I think, the day after Christmas, and they like train you and show you where your your spot's gonna be, and like go through all this training and stuff. And I don't know that it's very creative either. I think they're like, put roses right here, you know. But I think it would be cool to say you did it. Yeah. So that would be fun. But as far as a dream wedding. The dream weddings are the ones that they're like, be creative, your budget's unlimited. No, nobody's ever said that, but that would be a dream. You know, somebody with an unlimited budget and they don't care what it is and they let me pick the colors. So, and like I said, every color palette ends up being my favorite. I love all white. Caroline Stroud's, if you'll go back and look at her pictures, her colors were really cool. She had like green, hanging amaranthus, which is always really pretty, and the purple calla lilies, and anthurium, which we don't do very much. It's one of the most expensive flowers, but they're really pretty. Her colors were probably one of my favorite recently. My big dream for the shop, and I really think it's attainable one day. I know it might be in the future. Would be my dad's old shop. Robert's Paving, which is still there. He sold it and they're still running it like they do asphalt. But I grew up there. I remember getting my first spanking there because I would spin in the chair, the office chair, and my mom would say, my mom was the secretary at the time. She's, you know, she came and she worked there forever, and then we stayed there is what I'm trying to say. She did the bookkeeping there. My dad worked there. My uncle worked there. My granddad worked there. So we stayed there. And I was spinning in the chair, and she said, stop spinning that chair, you're going to spill the drink. And I spun again and spilled the drink, and I remember her giving me, really the only spanking I remember. I really remember that one. Anyway, we spent my summer up there. When I was off school, we stayed up there. They had that ramp that you pulled the truck on to work underneath it. I remember walking up that and walking out, like, just playing back there, playing on the rock piles. So my dream would be to have my shop there. It is on Bankhead Street. And the back where they work on trucks, I can just picture a really long table to do, you know, because right now it's like I have to move stuff in and out because our workspace is small. Like if we were doing that piece for the front of the stage for the wedding, I'll do a few, we'll move them out, we'll do a few more, we'll move them out. Like just doing the whole thing right at once, like would be a dream come true. Or like Valentine's, having 50 vases down through there and just doing it like, you know, conveyor belt style. That's my dream. And then the front, I can just picture how it would be set up as a storefront. I think it would be so cool. Some big glass doors on those roll-up doors so that you can just see outside and roll them up when it's pretty outside. So that's my dream. Maybe one day. I don't know. I can't think. I think anytime I get something else on my mind, I feel like really distracted, and I feel like I neglect things. So I think focusing on the flowers is probably the best thing for me and my ADHD, because there's just always something. You know, I think I did think about that. I even told my sister it'd be cool to do pottery. We sell a lot of pottery. That would probably be one thing I might try to get into if I did, because I thought, well, there'll be down times with the shop, because I had worked in a gift shop before, times to do something like that, and there's just not with the flower shop. There is a funeral, I would say every day there's a funeral, even on Saturdays and Sundays. And you know, the wedding season is really heavy in April and May right now, and then homecoming is really big in the fall, and then we start decorating for Christmas, and then Valentine's is January, February. It takes up really the whole 2 months, and then it's wedding again, and it's, you know, it's just a cycle. So I haven't found a down season yet, and I feel like it takes a lot of preparation. Like, you know, like I said, January we are prepping for Valentine's, and then so on and so forth. Valentine's is our biggest time of the year, and it is a really fun time to be creative. Around Christmas I start thinking about, our flower order is usually due the 1st of December, our Valentine flower order. And I will say this, I'm not trying to deter anybody from ordering Valentine's flowers, but I will say our growers are so busy for Valentine's. They do so much more volume. They cut flowers earlier for Valentine's than they do normally. Like, if I ordered flowers for this Friday, they would cut them on Thursday, like in Ecuador or Holland, Canada. That's where most of mine are grown, or Miami. They'll cut them on Thursday, put them on a refrigerated truck on Friday in Miami. If they're coming from Ecuador or Holland, they fly them to Miami. They all go on the reefer truck and they drive them to us. So within 2 days, they're to me from being cut in Ecuador, Holland, wherever. They're fresh. And then we don't keep them but a week. So I don't ever sell old flowers. People always say, well, how long will they last? Or my flowers died. And I'm like, I don't know what happened after I got them, but my flowers are fresh, I promise. But Valentine's, they will cut them maybe even a week early, because they have so many. So if you get Valentine's flowers and that's the only time you ever get flowers, people have like a negative, you know, well, they died really quick. But that's why. So if you ever get Valentine's flowers, that's why. They're beautiful, and I do think it's sweet to get that, you know, Mother's Day or Valentine's Day flowers, but they don't last as long as other times of the year. Anyway, we start planning Valentine's November, December, and I will start looking at, you know, arrangements I've made. Because when I make a daily arrangement, I don't have any plan in my head, unless it comes off our online website and they have a picture that they like, and a name like Heavenly Darling or something. We have to try to make it look like that. But otherwise, if they say they ordered a $50 cut and they like Gerbers, well, I can just do whatever I want, you know, and I take pictures of them a lot. And so sometimes I'll be like, oh, I love that arrangement I made. Maybe that's our Valentine's cut, because we pretty much do like a set. So I don't have to stand there and think about, like, I think we did 250 deliveries for Valentine's and like 200 pickups. So I mean, that's like 600 different arrangements you're doing. You can't think of something creative for 6. So we do a really creative, pretty cut, and then we just duplicate it. So I come up with one, and I say, this is our Valentine's cut, and this is what's going in it, and you know, this is what I want it to look like, and I want it to have this bow, and then all my ladies make them. So that's kind of, doesn't sound creative because I'm making the same thing 500 times, but it is, because we came up with like a really fun, creative, you know, set, the Kiss Me or the Adore, whatever we're calling it that year. And we don't usually share it before, because I don't want everybody seeing what they're going to get. So we do a different cut every year, but it's like our set Valentine's cut. So I love that time of year. I think it's so fun. We'll stay up to like 1 or 2 in the morning that week every night, and we're just listening to music, eating pizza, and we're all there. I say, I love it when all y'all are here with me. It feels like my family's here. It feels like Christmas, like you're getting ready for Christmas morning. And when it's over, you just need a big old nap. You need a big hug, a massage or something. It's crazy. They tried to warn me when I bought it. Kevin was like, now Valentine's is a lot, you know. I was like, I can do it. It's not going to be hard for me. It is too, really hard for me. Yeah, he was right. You know, when you're buying a business, you're buying a name, and you're like, well, is it worth that? You know, or should I have just started up my own? But like you said, it was like, you could not put a price tag on what all Kevin taught me that he had learned too, you know. And Michelle that works for me, had a flower shop in Ecru, and then Nancy Bowen works for us, and she had a flower shop in Tupelo. And so, I mean, Jay and Cooper had one in Holly Springs. They all work at Bankhead, and they all have so much knowledge. Like, Shelba Whiteside works with us, and she has worked at Bankhead for years now. And besides that, she was a banker in her previous life. She's been a nurse, and she knows everybody that comes in that door. Like, she knows. That is so important, too. And all these ladies came with, what we bought. So she knows where everybody lives. Because people will call and say, can you deliver something to Leanne Thompson? And they don't give an address, because Shelba knows. So it's just like the joy of a small town flower shop. So yeah, getting them and their knowledge, like I could not. It would have been hard, really hard to make it go without them and their knowledge. And he's still, I'll text him all the time, even just for reassurance. Like, do you think this will work? Or what would you do here? And he just really helpful. And
there's a lot of logistics in this business.
yes, there are. The delivery for Valentine's is really hard. We had, Karen is really good at routing. So what we do is make all the pre-orders, and we put them in different sections, like West Union, East Union, Ingomar, Myrtle, and then like downtown businesses, schools. So she's got it kind of roped out, but then they start calling on Valentine's Day, and you're trying to get the new orders with the stuff that you've already made, and there's a lot to it. And I kind of just tune it out and just make the arrangements and hope they have it going on, because they always do.
Yeah.
We even had Terry Purnell come in to help a little bit, because he was the postmaster. So he knows, like that was his job too, like routing the mail. So he helped a little bit with that too, and went out for deliveries for us. So it's like the goal is like get them all out before lunch, because everybody wants to enjoy their flowers, and they'll start calling. She hasn't gotten her flowers yet. So it's like trying to meet a goal. Like, let's get all these 200 deliveries out by lunch, and just see if you can actually do it. So yeah, it's more, because I thought, well, it sounds like a lot, but like, can't be that bad. It's pretty bad. I'm not bad, it's great, but it's challenging.
You were in high school again, and you thought, this is what you're going to do. Like, what would you do differently?
I think if I had known, which how could you ever know that you're going to do something like this, but if I had known in high school that I was going to do this, I would have started working for a flower shop in high school. I think that the more experience I get, the easier it all gets. Like I said, the first few weddings, it was like just nerve-wracking. The first Valentine's just scary, and you have no idea what you're doing. And the more you do it, of course, the easier it gets. So what I think being around a flower shop would be, or whatever you're wanting to do, just working there would be helpful. But then again, I think all my experiences have helped me. I worked at Calico Mushroom through high school, and Kelsey still, like, that was fun to me, going to sit with Kelsey and watching her make bows in high school. And I would learn to make those big, pretty bows. And I said I had no idea that I was learning how to make wedding bows, or we make the sympathy bows when people pass away to put on the front door of a business, like the big white bows. And when I came in, and the ladies that had owned their own flower shops were told, this teacher is buying Bankhead, and she's never worked in a flower shop. She's never stepped foot in a flower shop. And I think Michelle was like, no, like, I'm not working. She'll be horrible. That's what they were thinking. And Karen will even tell you that she was like, there's no way she can do this when she's never worked in one. And I come in, and they're like showing me stuff. They'll laugh about this too, because it was summer. I had just finished my teaching contract in the end of May. So he was supposed to train me in June, and I was supposed to start in July. And so June, I think they thought, well, she'll be up here every day in June to learn. And I would come up there for about 5 minutes, because that's just how I am. Like, and people will, I had a customer one time say, you just are always so busy. Like, I feel like I can't even talk to you because but that's just how I am. I'm listening, but I'm moving on to the next thing. And I would come in, and he would show me whatever he was doing. Like, I'm going to show you how to make a casket piece today. Okay, I'm watching him. All right, I'm going to go. I got to go get my kids, and they're like, she's gone. And then the next day, he's like, I'm going to show you how to make a spray. I'm like, all right, show me real quick. Okay, got it. All right, got to go. They're like, I'm going to show you how to make a bow. I'm like, no, I know how to make a bow. Oh, you don't want us to show you? Mm-mm. They're thinking, you really need to learn more than you're learning. But I'm more of a learn on the job kind of girl. Like, I'll figure it out when I get there. The weddings too. Do you have a plan for this? No, but we'll figure it out. That's just kind of how I roll. But I definitely had them nervous. I think they thought she'll be gone within a few months.
This business is going to be for sale.
That's right. Y'all go ahead and get the for sale signs out. But it has worked out. I think that's what Karen said. Well, I'll be honest. You've proved me wrong. She said, I didn't think that it was going to work out. I was like, okay. Because if you, something like that, if you can do it, I feel like you just can. You know, it's almost like hard to teach that. So I'm not saying like I got it going on. I'm just saying, you know, that's what I love to do, and I was just like, I'll figure it out. So, and I think I have.
And you have a great team.
Oh yeah, so could not do it without them. Jeez. That's, I always feel guilty when people are like, oh, you did so beautiful. I'm like, even Karen will say, you have to do this, or you have to. I said, we have this to do. We are going to do this. We are a team.